Right, welcome everybody to another episode of Chris and Dave's Reality Cast. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Phelps, and my co-host and very good friend is Mr. Dave Horrocks.
Hey there, Chris. You were going to say one of our other podcasts then, weren't you?
No comment, David.
I could tell. Just that little pause. Well, Chris, we're back again for the second episode of this week. And it's a day later, isn't it, than we'd normally like to put this out. We normally like to put it out as soon as we can. But you were busy getting branded, so how did all that go?
Well, Dave, it was okay. I'd got this, I messaged you, my brother who's got loads of tattoos, and my nephew has as well, and they were like, get this Emla cream. It's like a local anaesthetic you rub on. Perfect. So there I am, Dave. I finally found it. It took so long to get hold of it. A local chemist had it near me. And I'm on the tram, the Metrolink that is in Manchester, looking like I was some sort of trailer trash with my sleeve rolled up, rubbing cream on. Luckily, there wasn't a lot of people on. And I could see the reflection of this old bloke looking. I'm like, what is this guy doing? And I'm there with my arm in the air, rolled with my T-shirt up, right up, because I knew I was getting it on the top of my left arm. I will put it, actually, Dave, in the Facebook group after we've recorded this, so people can see. But there's only one place that I was, one place in the whole of this world, Dave, and you know full well where I was going to get tattooed, and that is Las Vegas. So my cousin is an amazing artist. They did it all after 6 hours, Dave. 8 hours is a session and a half, and my arm. And you've had a couple of tattoos recently. When he was going over the bits, I was like, holy shit. When, like curling my toes, it was that bad. I was like, oh my God. So, yeah, it's worth it now. And I've got to go back for a couple of bits to be finished in the new year. But as it stands, it looks pretty good. And it looks amazing. I'm more than pleased with what he's done on it. He's so talented. And I got family rates, Dave, which is even better. So, yeah, it's out quite well.
Happy days. I'm glad you said you were on the train with your arm in the air. I thought you were going to say something else there.
No one had noticed that, Dave. Don't worry.
No, that's cool, and it does look really good. And I need to get some of that bloody numbing cream because I can tell you, an hour in, when I was having mine, it took about 5 hours. It was already really quite sensitive, and the guy says to me, "It's like, yeah, look, it's a brutal one, this needle." And I, of course, being British, Chris, I just went, huh, yeah, it is. It looks fucking brutal, that one. And inside, I'm thinking, well, just change it for a non-brutal one. It's okay, we can take a little bit longer, but, don't fucking tell me how brutal it is, and this is the painful needle, and then just fucking keep massacring me with it.
Well, what's interesting...
So, yeah.
It was already Dave to go cruising. What's interesting, the machine that my cousin used, because I've had a tattoo for 8 years, and I was the same as you. I've not had one for the simple reason that when it got recoloured, my big tribal one on my right arm, it absolutely killed me. And I had the same experience. The tattooist went, I've been doing this for about 30 years. I've got a machine downstairs because it's a recolour. It's perfect, this. However, it's one of the original machines that I used to use, so it's quite loud and it's quite painful. Oh, my God. And I've got a tribal from the top of my shoulder down to past my elbow. And I'm like, oh, my. And when he got to my elbow, I was literally in tears. And it was awful. And that was a cover-up of a tattoo I had of my football team, United. And that tattoo still raises up underneath the tribal when it's hot for some reason, Dave. I can see the whole outline of the Red Devil, but it killed me. When he went over that one, because it's like 3 scars worth of tattooing, I was in agony, and that's what's put me off. But this was my left arm, which is finally covered, and my cousin was like, well, do New York under your armpit and under there. I'm like, fuck that. I'm keeping it on the top. Just do it down to my elbow. So we've got a little bit of decoration to do, and he's going to put a sunset above the Vegas sign on the top of my shoulder, and that is it. I am not having underneath because that hurts even more. Because I've not been doing I'm not been doing a lot of weights on my arms days because of my shoulder up, and there's no way I'm even attempting it with the amount of flabby skin that's going there at the minute. Not a chance.
You got the old bingo wings.
Yeah, they're not like they used to be, my arms at the moment, Dave. They will be in the new year, but they're not at the moment. I'm like, not a chance. I'm even going near that.
Oh, in the new year, you're planning to go on a diet, are you?
Yeah.
Like healthy living.
The 1st of January, David. Well, I train every day. I yoga, weights, I do cycling, but there's just something not right as I'm getting older, Dave. My waist is getting wider, my arms are getting smaller, and that's definitely not how I want it, Dave. So, it doesn't work like that. So, the comeback is on in the new year, definitely.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
And the next year we'll be saying this, going, the comeback's on. I've gone right up to a 40 waist now, Dave. I was only 34 last year, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't specify which year, to be fair.
No, he didn't, actually.
So.
And it's been a leap year as well.
It's just a roll in January. Yep, next January we'll get it sorted. But now, Chris, we got to the hometowns episode, didn't we? So last episode it was a bit brutal. We got to say goodbye to Blake, to Riley, to Bennett, to Noah. And then we're down to the 4, and we've got old Chris Harrison back there, and he's announcing that it's going to be hometown. So what do you make of the start of this episode?
You know what, Dave? This reminds me very much, and you know we love Love Island. That's what this podcast was created on. This feels like that Love Island crescendo to the end. It was quite fucking boring, wasn't it? We had a couple of little bits, and what I was more interested in was the fact I wasn't interested in Tayshia. I wasn't interested in the 4 guys who were left. So we had Ben, Ivan, Zach, and who else, Dave? I can't really remember.
Brendan.
Brendan, sorry. Yeah, Brendan was the first one, wasn't it? Yeah. And I wasn't interested. What I was interested in was their families' reactions. And I found it really nice that they don't give a shit about this show. They're not really prepped. They might have had a bit of direction saying, look, we want you to say this or whatever. But it was there. I was so interested in what they were saying. And there was some cracking tidbits. I mean, the first one was Brendan is with Tayshia. And I think Brendan could be the dark horse, Dave, because he has not really featured loads. But I found his and Ivan's dates and reaction towards Tayshia the most genuine. Zach, I didn't believe. That was just like some bullshit film from the 70s, or even the 60s, like a Burt Lancaster one when he's kissing that girl in the sea and all like that iconic film. And then Ben, well, fucking hell, Ben just shot his load completely, didn't he, Dave? Absolutely fucking put defeat from the jaws of victory, absolutely fucked himself up. But, and I'm sorry, I know I've kept talking, but you know what I thought was the funniest bit of this episode, Dave, and I don't know whether you picked up on this in Thingy's, Brendan's date, was when he mentioned about his family, his brother, his niece, and he's like, I treat her like, she treats her like my daughter. And as she's running to Brendan, fucking Tayshia sweeps in and gets the first cuddle. Never even met her before, and hugs her. And I'm like, hang on a minute, what
like
are
they're
you
best
doing?
mates.
Yeah, so then I'm thinking, well, you've obviously met her off camera, because you wouldn't just run up to some 10-year-old kid or whatever she is and lift her up and give her this big hug if you'd never met her. Because at first I'm thinking, who is this girl? Has he got a daughter? And then they said the niece. I'm like, what? Wait, who did someone relate to Tayshia? And I'm like, oh no, it's Brendan's niece. I found that, Dave, funny, but also really, really weird.
Yeah, so I mean, you've covered the whole episode really there.
Yeah,
so I don't know where to start.
This week, anyway,
Thanks for listening. Well, the first thing I had down, Chris, I'll come back to the niece thing, because I think that's a good play, isn't it? Bring the kids in, show what a good potential future father you are. I do think that is good. But first thing, Chris, you've got Chris Harrison back. He's been out helping his son move cities and what have you. So he's been out of the bubble. What, is he back in the bubble now? But how long has he had to quarantine before he gets back in the bubble? Because it seems to me like he's just fucking wandered right back in. And also, we've got 4 whole families here, Chris. So normally, obviously, hometowns, they're travelling all over the US. I did see this with the South African one as well, when it was a guy called Mark Buckner, and he was the Bachelor, and he was going around to the different places. I think Cape Town was one. And, you go through this whole process, and at the end of it, he just chose the younger, thinner, blonder one. So it's like, what was the fucking point? But yeah, so obviously they can't do that, so they're having to make everything out of, this make-believe, hometown in La Quinta. But Chris, in the last episode, they got rid of Blake, they got rid of Bennett, they got rid of Noah, and the other one, Riley, right? Were all of their families already there quarantining? Yeah. Just in case.
Yeah, I don't believe any of this now. I'll be honest with you, Dave. I know we're getting called out for not knowing the nation, but I'm with you. how, I mean, unless America is different to the UK, Dave, I don't know. I don't know if we've been corrected on that just yet, but I don't understand how any fuckers just rocking in off the street here and just turning up in the show. And I found that narrative ridiculous. Maybe that's why they've bought the complex, Dave. Maybe they're all staying with the families and we're just not seeing it.
That's the only way you could believe the two things together, isn't it?
Yeah.
That they are quarantining, there is a bubble, and, you know, it's not all predetermined who's going to come out and win, and it's not all scripted. So I just found this episode in particular quite tricky to just suspend disbelief with, because I'm thinking just logistically, how are you getting these families in and stuff? And, you know, this so-called, you know, Harrison says, you know, he said that all the families have been quarantining, you know, and he's not. He's just rocked back in, hasn't he? So, again, unless you believe this thing was filmed over like 6 months, and, you know, we're only getting specific weeks, and it's actually took a lot longer. I don't know, Chris. I was struggling to buy this episode quite a lot.
Yeah.
But, I mean, am I just being a bit jaded there?
No. It's the first thing that I saw. I was like, and it's stupid because you should never doubt that. We should take it for what it is. If this had been filmed pre-COVID, we wouldn't have even doubted it. But knowing what's happened, the fact that, I mean, it's good that they've got the show together, Dave. Let's give them some credit because, you know, everything that's gone on, the Claire scenario, it was delayed because of COVID. Then they went in, everyone had to isolate. They showed that on the first episode, and then it's gone from there. Tayshia obviously must have been on the complex as a substitute. She must have been. It just wouldn't happen because she can't come in. That's totally against the law, I presume, in the US, that she could just come in off the street and then these guys are all fine, because she could have COVID and it'd take the whole show off air. So yeah, and I think you're right. There's got to be a gap between when the last episode finished and this one started production. Maybe if there was 10 days, I don't know, but it seemed really bizarre. But I tell you what was bizarre, Dave. I don't like this Zach at all, and I don't trust him. And why the fuck was he sweating all the time? The whole episode, there was a bit where they were...
because it's about fucking 200 degrees there. They're all sweating, aren't they?
Yeah, but he was on site, not in a bad way, but he was just sweating a lot, and I didn't buy any of it. His dad seemed a lovely bloke. His dad spoke to Tayshia, nice guy, having a chat with her. And that's what I'm saying about the families. I love the fact that the families don't give a shit. They are concerned for their sons, what's going on, or their brothers, and I really like that human side of it. And I do find it difficult for Tayshia to say the same sort of script with all four of them. You know, like every time. I find that really bizarre. And I know this is what Bachelor's about, and it's a nonsense. It's not real life. And, you know, we've been corrected on that many times. But I think this was probably the most overproduced episode of this series. And not just to agree with you, Dave. Just I think we're on the same page. I watched it and I'm like, fuck off. This is just nonsense now.
Right. Well, I think... Let's talk about Brendan's date in a second then. We'll get back to that. But initially, when Chris Harrison's talking to them about, you know, this is how it's going to be. We're going to do a fake hometowns kind of thing, and you have to basically make this up. It's implied by yourself, but there's not a team of crew kind of making up little New York taxis and things like that in the back. You know, I noticed that, you know, when Zach gets told his mom, his dad, his brother's going to be there, you've just said there, he's not that convincing, and he's like, oh, love these people so much, you know. I'm like, I'm not sure you do. I think that just seems like a line to me. Ben seemed quite gushing and happy that his sister was going to be there. Ivan seemed happy that his mom was there. Chris Harrison said, you know, he's getting on quite well with his mum. So I'm not sure. Was she in quarantine then? Were they in quarantine together? Again, all kinds of questions, Chris. And then that's when they say about Brendan. His brother and his brother's wife, and, you know, Brendan's niece are going to be there. But we find out then, Chris, that Brendan's father's passed away, so he's pretty much been brought up by his older brother. And obviously Brendan gets really quite emotional because it is his father figure. But I was trying to think, have we heard that before from Brendan? Because that's potentially a real sob story that we haven't heard.
No, I can't remember. I didn't pick up on that, to be honest. I did. Obviously, I heard him say about, you know, his brother and everything, and he was the father figure. I don't think. I could be wrong, but I don't think it was mentioned in the sob story episode, and it certainly hasn't been mentioned in the others. Please correct us, guys, if we're wrong, because you might be screaming, listening to this, going, "You two pair of idiots! You're not even listening." You know, I'll be getting called out by Sherry again for not listening, Dave. But if Sherry, come for me. No, Sherry, I will say Sherry's got my permission to come for me if I've not been paying attention there. But I don't remember that, and that's what I'm saying. He's not had loads of airtime, Brendan, but he's stuck in there. And I just did find that as a person, he seemed probably, him and Ivan seemed the two most genuine guys out of the four left, Dave, if I'm being honest.
I'm with you, 100%. And this day, obviously the day, you know, they had the whole carnival. No idea, I don't know where Brendan's actually from, but I couldn't help but think it's the same place as Pennywise. I think that was the last thing I watched. You know, it was where they had, I think it's Derry, isn't it, in Maine? And, you know, you had the whole carnival thing there. But it looked kind of fun. Like I say, he brought in the niece. You know, it's a good kind of thing, you know, if you're looking to properly couple up with someone. So yeah, I think that date went really well. She seemed to get on well with the family, and you know, she pretty much said, didn't she? I thought, Chris, this is pretty much game over. I think, you know, she was saying, you know, she could see herself falling in love with him. She could see herself actually getting married to him and what have you. So I don't know. I have thought from their first date, I thought they've had a good connection. I did wonder whether his conversation is always going to be, oh, woe is us because we're divorced and stuff. But it does seem a little bit deeper than that. So I don't know if Brendan's a dark horse. I think he might be the front runner.
Yes, yeah, I'm with you. I think it's him and Ivan battling it out. I mean, obviously, yeah, I do. I agree. I must admit, I think that was the only date of this series, and then Ivan's was the same. In this one episode, we got two of the most genuine dates. I just find the whole that I love watching it. Don't get me wrong, and I love talking about it, and obviously doing a podcast. But I find the whole dynamic of it really bizarre, especially at the end. But you know, going back to Zach, and you're right about the way he was. You know, Brendan gets a pass from me. He passed the test if there was one as a fan of the show. Zach didn't. The way he dragged her into the water was just like, I'm not buying that.
He was just like, I am fucking roasting. I'm sweating my bollocks off. So I'm going to do a double play here. So I'm going to actually get her into the fountain so I can just fucking cool off. Yeah, and then it's going to be this massive romantic gesture. I don't care about going into the water. Oh, if it was fucking, you know, in New York in December, I think you might have a different outlook on that. But no, I just thought he was sweating his bollocks off and just thought, how the fuck do I get into there? That nice, cool, crisp water. Yeah.
You know what? You're probably right, because I felt that kiss was more Hollywood than anything else we'd seen. More Hollywood than anything, Dave. It just seemed too false for me. And you know, if I'd done that with Sam, Dave, she would have just left me there on the floor and gone, get the fuck up, I'm not ruining my dress. You know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, it is what it is with Zach. I think Zach's not going to be in the top two. I'd be amazed, Dave, absolutely amazed.
Yeah, but she does seem to like him, doesn't she? And I think the fact that, I mean, New York, it's quite sexy. You like New York, I quite like New York as well. You know, it's one of our favourite places, and, you know, but he's from New Jersey, isn't he? So, you know, I thought he could have set up a little fake shopping mall or something. So, yeah. Obviously, New York is a bit cooler, isn't it? So, a bit cooler to have the date. They're hailing the taxi. Like I say, I'm not having for a second that Zach has been busy, you know, in the woodwork shop making that, that fucking yellow cab. But then, you know, he's going on about fucking this New York pizza. And it's like, yeah, but it's not a New York pizza, is it? You're in fucking La Quinta. You've just asked fucking Pedro or something in the kitchens to make yourself some pizza. So I know it's fucking made up, Chris, I know, but just the pizza thing annoyed me a bit.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I'm with you. He's definitely the bottom of the barrel for me, I think. And then if you look at Ivan, Ivan's mum, his dad, you know, they were very open. His brother turned up, didn't we? We got the whole crying thing. And why is Tayshia crying over this guy she's never met? He comes in and because Ivan, she starts, and I'm like, I don't get this. You've supposedly never met this guy, and you know the backstory. I don't know. I wasn't buying the crocodile tears from it. I like Tayshia a lot. I think she's a good girl, and I think she's a really strong person as a lady. She doesn't stand any messing, but I wasn't really buying a lot of what she was selling today. I thought it was just all lip service, and it was almost in some respects that she was vying for like Ivan's and Brendan's attention when it's like, no, you're the star of the show. They're vying for you. You know, they're out of their comfort zone. Their families are involved. That's why you're here. So I wasn't sure about that.
Do you think so?
The what, sorry?
Do you think so? Because I think that the power shifts, doesn't it?
Yes. Yeah, it does.
I think the power does shift to the blokes in this scenario.
Yes.
Because up until this point, it's been Tayshia, you know, forgetting about the Claire Dale thing, it's been Tayshia and she determines the date, and it's up to each guy to basically shine on this particular date or get sent off home in a taxi. Whereas when they're meeting the families and stuff, and in particular, I thought Zach's brother was giving Tayshia a bit of a grilling there. I think the power's more with the blokes here, even though they're still the ones in competition with each other. But I agree. You know, it was a bit foreshadowed, wasn't it, that the brother would be there. I think Ivan seemed to say about 5 times, "Oh, if only my brother was here." And then, you know, he turns up. And so when he turns up, yeah, I agree. They'd obviously had this conversation. It was very clear how much his brother meant to Ivan. It's Gabe, isn't it? I think his name was. Very clear. So Ivan, you're expecting to get emotional. I don't really understand why Tayshia does as well. Like you say, there's a bit over familiarity with the niece, you know, like they're long lost, you know, relatives or something, crying over the brother. Yeah, it doesn't seem authentic, does it?
Well, put it this way, Dave. I regard you as probably my best friend. You know, at the end of the day, I don't really know your kids really because we live so far away. We've met up recently, obviously, at a friend's wedding back end of last year, but we speak every day. We know you know Jordan well or anything. Imagine me coming into your house and like picking Max up or you know just picking one of your kids up, and you'd be like, "What the fuck are you doing, Chris?" You know, you'd be like, "Doesn't. I wouldn't go up to. You know, I remember your eldest daughter when she was a baby, but I wouldn't go up to her and pick her up and go, "Oh,
just
great
pick her
to
up
see
and
you."
give her a big hug.
Haven't you grown 15 years later? You'd be looking at me like, "Chris, what the fuck are you doing?" And that's
I'd fuck off, Jimmy Savile.
Yeah, Jimmy Savile. Come on. But yeah, you would though. But you would, wouldn't you, Dave? No matter how friendly we are, your natural instinct would be, "What the fuck are you doing, Chris? That's just not right." And obviously, your daughter doesn't even know who I am anyway, Dave. So it's like, that whole scene I thought was hilarious because I was like, you've sort of tripped up there without tripping up because he obviously has some sort of relationship with her on the set.
Yeah, so just actually, I haven't told you this. You've just reminded me. So actually, my eldest refers to you as a bit of a legend.
Me?
I don't know why. Yeah, just because if you know they're asking something or I say, "Oh, I'm just recording" or what have you. Like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm recording with Chris," and she in fact she's been calling you a legend. But then in the last couple of weeks, I don't know if it's an upgrade or downgrade. You're now Icon.
Why?
I don't know.
I've never spoken to her.
Fucking kids language. No, it's because she hears about you through me.
Oh, right. That's amazing. That is amazing.
I forgot to tell you. In fact, it's only just as we were talking now that I remembered. But
tell her thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
I am an icon. I like that. Yeah.
It doesn't need a bigger head. So what did you think of Ivan's date though? Because I really liked it. I like that kind of cooking together. That's a bit of me. That is, and I think I quite like that date, to be honest.
Yeah, I did. That's what I was saying. I think it was him and Brendan won this episode for me, Dave. And Ivan, there was a lot of vulnerability about his approach with Tayshia, what he wants. His mum was quite open. His old man, his brother. She had a great conversation with his brother, and she even said that what a good guy he was, Gabe, and that, you know. And I buy it. I was buying into that, I must admit. I'd love it if someone out there goes, Chris, what are you talking about? But no, I'm with you, Dave. I thought it was a good day. I thought there's a nice little connection between them. It's very, very genuine. I just feel really bad, Dave, and I know this is The Bachelor and this is what it's all about. I just feel really bad whoever doesn't get through, because they have gone all in at the end here. The families are invested in him, and I'm like, this is weird if they pick someone else. It's really, it's great TV because it's going to be fingers, my hand's going to be over my face, but I'm going to be sneaking through my left eye from my fingertips and that. But it is very, very chopping at the end because the family's coming. I like it, but I'm just like, oh my God, this is going to go so wrong next week.
You know what? It is brutal. When it gets to this stage, and again, the South African one, it got right to the end. So basically, they get all dressed up and everything. And the veterans, the Bachelor Nation out there, they'll be bored with this, so make a cup of tea or whatever. They get all dressed up and everything. And then they're stood there together, looking into each other's eyes. And they're going to either be told you've won or you've lost. And the girl who lost out on the Bachelor South Africa, fucking hell, you could tell she was just absolutely destroyed. She fully expected to get chosen in that moment, and so it's brutal car crash TV. But I think, honestly, Chris, I think Bachelor Nation love it. So we'll be looking through our fingers, won't we? Because it's going to be brutal. But right. I think we're probably in the minority there. Now, speaking of which, should we get on to Ben's date?
we've fucking paced around that. I must admit, Dave, from a psychology point of view, and we've really, with the stuff that Ben's revealed over the last few weeks, and his sister was there, the person, who he absolutely saved his life from all intensive purposes. And I did see on our Facebook page, I think it was Charlene had dropped a comment, and I'd not watched the episode because obviously I was getting my tattoo. So I had to do catch up with it. Was about him and his, obviously the terrible situation where he's been suicidal over the last couple of years, which we mentioned in the last show, after he revealed it to Tayshia. And I do think, Dave, that his personality finally came through there, how broken as a person he is, because he literally he was there 1 yard from goal, open net, and somehow missed. And I don't know, I'm not saying he's going to win it, but what he did there on that date was just fucking bizarre for me.
Now, Chris, I am going to be putting myself out here as the potential bad guy again.
Go on, please. Sherry, get your emails
fucking
ready.
Sharpen your pencil. Get ready to write another letter, or you could always type it in an email. Right. I'm not sure what I buy out of this at all. On the face of it, what they're showing us here, you just like you just said, he's got an open goal, just stick it in the net, so to speak,
Yep.
But Chris, this seems like a cheesy rom-com to me, and it seems like too much of a cheesy rom-com that I can fully buy it. I think this is Ben's audition to be the Bachelor. Right? Think about it. Right? This is let's call it Ben Smith's diary, a bit like Bridget Jones's diary. Right? We're watching a rom-com movie, so throughout we're getting into the third act now. So throughout the movie, we've been introduced to these characters. Ben, we've got Chris Harrison, we've got Tayshia, and basically Ben's been talking about how his troubled past, and that he's been closed off from his emotions. He's got this unusual condition where basically if he gets nervous, he has to take his clothes off. And then he's having a talk with his sister, and you can almost, when they're having that conversation and she's asking him about how do you feel about her, and he comes to that moment and he's like, you know what, I love her. I absolutely love her. You can see it. And if this was a rom-com, Chris, you'd be playing a bit of maybe a bit of 1,000 Miles by Vanessa Carlton. The old tinkling on the ivories. And he's like, and then he's skipping down La Quinta. He's getting all excited and stuff. It's like, and then, but then at that critical moment when he has to spit it out, and he's even told Chris Harrison how he feels. At that critical moment, he stumbles across his words. He just can't get it out there. He's just too emotionally broken. And then, so I don't know, what would you play? Maybe a bit of Foreigner. I want to know what love is. You play a bit of that, and he's like, oh no, I can't say it. Chris, this is too much like a rom-com for me that I can buy it. I just don't buy it.
Well, obviously, guys.
Do you like my little rom-com there? I'll have to.
I like a rom-com, Dave, but
obviously
this is Dave saying this. Everyone who's listening, please get all your emails in for him. I will take great pleasure and reading them out.
So, do you think that's genuine? Do you think all of that, all the stuff that we've heard, is all genuine? And the way he was absolutely beaming before, he got to speak to Tayshia, and then for some inexplicable reason, he can't just spit the words out. Eminem style.
What, 8 Mile?
He just chokes. 8 Mile, yeah.
I didn't even. You know what? You've absolutely bamboozled me, because I didn't even cross my mind about that with Ben. Really, obviously what he revealed was absolutely horrific. But I do think. I don't know. I'd have to think about that, Dave, because I just thought he absolutely fucked himself over. I didn't even question that it was all a bit of bullshit or whatever. I just genuinely thought he just completely messed up. He had to be honest with her and say, I don't love you, sort of thing. I'm not sure I love you. He had to do that. You can't mess with people's emotions, whether we believe Tayshia's involved in these guys or not. Look, when we did Labour of Love, Dave, Kristen did not give a fuck about any of them guys, and this is probably the only time one of my predictions has come true, and I've said, like, she's not going to get with anyone, and lo and behold, she didn't, and we got the massive email, Instagram post about how empowering she was as a woman, and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with her. She's not expected to get into a relationship with anybody, and you certainly don't bring a child into this world, Dave, for a reality TV show. That would have been a fucking absolute disaster for her, the father, the child. You just do not do that. So I respect her for that, but you can just see all the way through, she was too polished. It was just an absolute career-driven TV show for her, just to get herself out there and manipulate the public and all that. That was it. And I'm sure the guys were doing the same on the show. They probably didn't care about her, other than Stuart, who absolutely was just too nice in the end. He was too false for me. He was just too sweet, and I think that's where the Tayshia thing's coming in. There was actually a parallel, Dave. I know I went off on one then. This isn't the wrong episode. Yeah, this isn't the wrong episode you've tuned into, guys. Sorry, but with Tayshia, that's where I we've been called out for saying, look, you get on as a sort of contestant, like you just said about Ben, and then you get the main gig. We've been told that a few times now. Not really watching continual episodes of The Bachelor or Bachelorette. I've picked up different ones. I watched The Bachelorette in Australia with Sophie Monk, who's the presenter of Love Island Australia. I watched that one. I watched the Guy one, the next one, and then I've not watched it since. And I think there's twin sisters on the Aussie one now. And it's the same scenario, that they've been on different things and they've moved within that nation. I was completely naive to that. But with this, I don't know whether it's necessary, for me, whether it's necessarily Ben. It's the Tayshia's reaction that I wasn't buying, because she let him go there and then because of what he'd said, but I don't think she was going to pick him anyway. I found the whole thing a bit like yesterday's episode, or the day before, sorry, where she was like absolutely distraught that Blake had been let go. And we had the camera angles from the lighting was right and everything, and this crying. I'm not saying she's not crying, and some of the situations are not genuine, but it just seems I don't know, that just seemed more fake from her point of view, for me personally, than Ben's.
So I don't know. I think when Blake went, I think it was more just an outpouring of emotion, and it was the fact that, you're getting down to a few blokes now. I don't think it was particularly to do with Blake. I think the problem I had with it was she seemed to get the ump that, he didn't show more emotion. So she's literally, out of 4 blokes, she's picked him 4th. And then after he's gone, she's talking to the camera and giving him a hard time that he didn't, did this last few weeks, did that just mean nothing? It's like, you picked the guy 4th. Why do you think you deserve him to, basically, does it need to validate her? Does it need to say, like, oh, it meant so much to me. I was in love with you, and she'd go, right, nailed that one. Right, now I'll go and go back to the other three and whittle those down as well. So I found the reaction a bit off, just a bit. You know, you've just crushed the guy. You know, it's not that it didn't mean anything, but you've just literally rejected him. So yeah, he's going to put his walls back up.
Yeah, true. You could be right. What do you think with the three we've got? Sorry, go on.
Sorry, before we go on to the three, did you notice? You know, halfway through the crying, so she was crying a little bit outside when he'd left. She was in a kind of, it's like a reddish, pinkish dress, wasn't it? And then the editors just cut in a bit where she's in grey pyjamas.
I didn't even notice that.
And it's of her crying.
I didn't know.
It's of her crying, and I think it's from that the Black Lives Matter date. You know, remember that one, the one with Ivan and stuff like that, and she was getting all emotional. They've just spliced in a bit of that fucking bit where she's crying. And I don't know, is that because they want her to appear more emotional than she was actually being when Ben went? It just very off, Chris. And again, this is all just shaping my perception of how false it all is, how staged it all is.
No, I think you're right, Dave. I think it is very, very false, this, and it's just too convenient, everybody being there within the house with her. And I will say that, I mean, who do you think, you know, top three, who's going to be there? What order, Dave? So hit me up with it.
I think out of the three, I think I'll do it in reverse order. I think Zach third. She does seem to get on with Ivan, but I think I see a bit more of a romantic connection with Brendan than I do with Ivan. Seems very kind of, when she's with Ivan, it seems more kind of friend zone type stuff. So I think, yeah, okay. So 1, 2, 3. I'll go Brendan, Ivan, and then Zach. What about you?
Well, that's fucking boring, because I'm exactly the same. Yeah, I think it's the same, Dave. I'm totally with you. It's going to be them three. You may see, you know, the swap between Ivan and Zach, but for me personally, I always think Brendan's going to be there. I think the connection's there better between them, and I don't know exactly. There's going to be some bullshit that is going to come out, and he's going to ruin it even more. Another closet special for him.
Yeah. There's still something off, and I thought with the family dates as well. Like I say, I think the brother did grill Tayshia quite a lot. I liked Ivan's dad, you know, and he was talking about, you know, getting married too young, and he was kind of trying to get a bit from her, wasn't he, about, you know, where is she coming from in part of this process. I think Zach's dad was interesting, wasn't he? He's like basically making out like he's Jonathan Kent, you know, making out like he's from this small town and stuff, and he didn't seem very comfortable in front of the cameras. But, you know, by the end of that chat, she seemed to have won him over. So, you know, I just think the way that first date ended with Brendan, I think, you know, that's my front runner. But, you know, anything can happen, I guess. Now, Chris, have we got any emails?
We have, Dave. We've got one from our good friend Bianca. It's the first email. And I will say, guys, if you do want to email in, like Bianca's done and Sherry and some of our other great friends, you can email us, cdrealitycast@gmail.com, and give Dave plenty of abuse.
Will you fuck off with that?
And at the moment, Dave, you do say that, but it is actually 7-1 to you at the moment. I'm getting completely...
You're right, actually. Karma's a bitch.
And every time, Dave, we get an email like this, you text me and I can't get onto my phone quick enough, and Sam is there going, what the hell are you doing on my phone? on your phone again, and I'm like, I can't check it. Dave sent me something, and yeah, it's always some abuse usually for me, so that's very good. And also, she does actually agree with pretty much all the listeners out there. So all you ladies, you are not far wrong. My wife even agrees, especially the one about me not concentrating when I'm talking to you, Dave. Bianca says, Chris and Dave, I love hearing your witty perspective on some of my favourite shows each week, and I've been listening since this summer's Love Island USA, and I've continued into the fall. Listen to you recognise the unwritten rules and norms of The Bachelor are hilarious, and to hear out loud from new watchers, because many of them are truly ridiculous. But ultimately, I appreciate podcasters who don't take these shows too seriously and critiques too personally. It opens up a fun, light-hearted conversation about my shows that feels like I'm listening to friends. Hope you podcast for Matt James' Bachelor season, because I'll need your lovely accents and funny commentary in the new year. Best regards, Bianca. And I think as well, Dave, our accents, like stuff like bollocks, which means balls, guys. I never think about the actual translation, obviously, when we move over. But there is things I can imagine people Googling, going, what the hell are they saying? So I hope you do get our British sense of humour, guys.
Of all the slang to choose from, you choose bollocks.
Well, I could have picked see you next Tuesday, Dave, couldn't I? But there you go.
But I think it is interesting, isn't it? Because, like I say, a lot of the Bachelor Nation, they know what the rules are and they're comfortable with the rules. So even though I did the South African one last season, this is a different level. This a different level of production, and it's been going for so many seasons, and people love it. And I sometimes think people love to hate it or hate to love it. So yeah, it's been interesting going through and just with those kind of fresh eyes, and I guess that's the kind of perspective we have, and we know from some of the emails and stuff that we've got, some of our long time listeners have given this season a go as well, haven't they? So they're kind of watching it with the same kind of fresh perspective.
Yeah, and look, I've watched so many series of The Bachelor, Bachelorette. I've really enjoyed them. I've not watched them in order. The Sophie Monk stuff I'd watched. She's the host of the Australian Love Island. She did The Bachelorette. She was on The Bachelor. She's quite a big personality over there. It is a completely alien thing. And when people are saying to me, like, Chris, what are you talking about? This is what it's about. We've both been called out, haven't we? So I think, it's all swings and roundabouts. We're both enjoying it. We're both enjoying doing this. And when you're watching a show like this, you're always going to come to criticism, especially the way we do the podcast, and we don't take it at all offensively, guys. If you want to give us abuse, it's not a problem, and genuinely we take it in the way it's, you're critiquing, you're actually getting that annoyed, you're like, what the hell is these two talking about? And it's usually me that people are talking about, but I genuinely enjoy it, and I love Married to Medicine. That's like my favourite one, and 120 episodes later, we'd watch that. But then we've got a couple of others that I'm going to be watching, Dave. My favourite is Keeping Up with the Kardashians, as you know.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, you can huff all you want, Dave. But I love that show. And I think they've signed up for Disney now. So they said the show was finished, but they haven't. Chloe, Courtney, Kim, Kendall, Chris, Kylie. I know them all. Scott. I know them all, Dave. I will be getting you onto them, by the way.
You are some shy, you. I mean, and that's from someone who's 50% of a podcast who's covering all these ordinary shite. You do Keeping Up with the Kardashians. What is it? Fucking Geordie Shore. What's the Housewives of X?
No need for that, David. I absolutely love them shows. I mean, the Geordie Shore stuff is the original OGs. They've gone back. They're all married now with kids and got a life and stuff, and that's pretty good. You've got Jersey Shore, which I've watched for years, since it first started. That's back on there in Vegas a lot, which I love, as you know. So it's all stuff that with me and Sam just sit there and watch. And there's a new one, a cabin one, I think it's called, that's coming out. And it's going to be one that I will maybe possibly send in your way, Mr. Horrocks, just for you to come and watch. It's about a lot of English ones.
Right, Chris, how will everyone get in contact with us?
Well, Dave, obviously I've already showed him. I've already told him about the email. So if you want to contact us on social media, guys, at CD Realitycast on Twitter or Instagram, get over there. If you agree, disagree, tweet us, DM us, whichever, and we'll read them out on the show, guys. And as always, get your reviews onto your podcast catching out. Me and Dave are available all day. We love it. Get over to our Facebook page. We're always on there interacting. Our great friend Charlene runs it over there, and we are on there all the time, active. And I will be posting my Las Vegas tattoo later today. So thank you so much, as always, guys, for tuning in. Mr. Horrocks, we're going into the final week. It's been a great journey. Thank you so much for everyone tuning in, and we will see you next time. Take care, everyone.
I'll speak to you then.
Bye.